In the world of work, we often talk about clarity, resilience, balance, but rarely ask where they come from. As professionals, we are often taught to compartmentalize, keep belief, emotion, and intuition separate from logic, decision making, or leadership behavior. It has been some time that I became conscious of myself more as a rationalist or even an agnostic, but with a clear realization that many or most around me have profound belief in what I did not understand or chose not to delve deeper into. Today's topic, therefore, what grounds you, faith, spirituality, and the inner compass at work, is an effort on my part to learn from such individuals and practicing leaders as guests on my show and share it with my viewers. By the way, we are not here to debate faith or spirituality. Instead, we explore how personal belief systems quietly shape how we lead, decide, manage stress, and stay resilient in work life. We dig deep into our minds to identify the source of our courage, calm, and clarity when things get tough, and how that inner self shapes our performance as leaders, executives, or managers. We ask, what if the thing that keeps us composed in a crisis, thoughtful in conflict, and clear in chaos lies not in mere rationale or skill sets, but in what grounds us deep within? In the cacophony of deadlines, KPIs, and metrics, stock options, ambition, and a never ending game of comparative supremacy, what keeps some of us grounded? For some, it could be deep spiritual practice. For others, it's faith, rituals, or a conscious lifestyle. And for some like me, it could be just quiet questioning and respect for all ways of being. Today, I'm joined by two accomplished professionals who bring not just professional competence, but steely conviction into their lives and careers. Let me introduce Pragnajit Roy. Pragnajit, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time. Pragnajit is a senior engineering leader in semiconductor design, widely traveled across the world with quite modern tastes, but with habits of deep spiritual practice, right? Thank you again. And of course, Vinay, my good friend. Vinay is a digital entrepreneur, at times my co-host on The Missing Link with Amit. But Vinay has always amazed me as a practitioner of deep faith and knowledge of rituals. So let me start with you, Vinay. The questions that, of course, I will ask Vinay, Pragnajit, both of you, I would like you to respond to it, but maybe one by one, or carrying on from what you find interesting from either of your responses. So the question is, when did your belief system start to take a more conscious role in your life?
Thank you, Amit. Thank you so much for this question. It goes back very long ago when I was probably like 8 years of age. That's when I guess I'm able to say that today because I'm a father of a son who is around that age.
Okay.
So that's where the shift from just believing what everybody says shifts to why is it so.
So you started asking the question why.
So it's more to do with coming out of the belief system rather than getting into a belief system.
Okay, that's very interesting.
That question part made me start deeper diving into seeking answers in many contexts, be it, experiencing yourself, trying it out, burning your hands, and, simple tasks. And you go, you explore, try to do it, and then you realize, okay, fire it burns. Water, okay, this is something which is flowy. So you realize it much younger. It's not that, one fine day you get a hat and you know that, this is true from now on. It happens over a period of time. And when it does, there are certain things which has happened to you for the first set of your initial age, which is your balyavas, which is your first 12 years. That's the phase, I guess, you start you're more like a sponge where you absorb more from everybody around you. So for me, that phase was very deep and very strong because my mother's father comes from a place where he was, a priest who used to teach a lot of spiritual know-how.
So the ecosystem you were in, you were soaking it up, and also questioning as you...
I was not questioning then, but I was in that ecosystem where day-to-day conversations were around the factors of rituals, the factors of spirituality, the entire practicing format of spirituality.
Right.
So it was more to do with my father, who used to practice a lot of spiritual content, read a lot of books, or had access to books to go about looking into it. I was told stories about it. That's where it all started. The stories were told very beautifully to pick up the interest, and also question, not just believe the story in the format of a story, but to understand what is that they're trying to communicate through this. And we have to understand this fact that today we can know this more than ever, that we have gone through invasion for a very long time. And these rituals are a very strong scientific knowledge and reason for which they started doing it.
There is something that is
That got
original.
missed out. And today we're just treating it as mythology or belief system purely because of what has been repeatedly told to us over and over again.
Okay.
And we just stuck to the ritual part of it or what has to be done part of it without knowing why it is done. So the why factor took a backseat.
Yeah.
So this was something in our day-to-day life when I grew up was always questioned upon.
So you were I mean, to me it appears, I would say fortunately, also in ecosystem due to your family, your grandparents and all that, that you could not only soak in the rituals, etc., but also as you were growing up, also find the answers to why these rituals happened. Right?
Yes, because my father used to tell you are supposed to do this. You're not supposed to touch. Once you touch your eyes, you're supposed to wash your hands and touch. Maybe it's hygiene. Maybe it's about keeping the cleanliness. But it has got more to do with it. So when I used to ask the same question with 5 different people, I used to get 5 different answers in my native and also at my place. So I was knowing that none of them are true or all of them are true. So you go seek somewhere else.
So now you have to find out.
You have to find
Okay,
out.
so let me go to you, Pragnajit. How did it work out for you? When did your belief system, okay, and I mentioned it for the viewers that probably you practice a lot of spirituality, and so does Vinay, but he also has this very deep knowledge about rituals and why it is coming from. On the other hand, I'm this kind of odd man out amongst the three, I guess. Yes, probably I may understand, but that we leave it aside to a little extent, spirituality. But I'm definitely an agnostic, and I'm surely not a believer in this faith or that faith. So leaving that out, when did your belief system start kind of consciously coming to your life?
Yeah, like Vinay, I also started very young. So probably it came in in my genes because
Okay.
my parents' father, my mother's father, as well my father's father, both were very spiritual
Okay.
in their own ways.
Okay.
And they started off very late, and then probably this came into me because there was a sense of curiosity in me very early on in my life to figure out, hey, life cannot only be eat, sleep, and pursue your ambition. So that there could be more to life than what we do, the mundane. So that is when I started exploring about spiritual practices like meditation and other.
So this was while you were a student, or it was
While I
after?
was a student.
While you were a
And
student,
Of course,
okay.
the added advantage of practices like meditation is it helps you in focusing your mind.
Okay.
So that was also an interest for me because as I was a student, and for a student, it's it's of paramount interest for a student
Okay.
to actually get
Yeah.
into those kind of activities. So I started off there. Then few incident happened in my life that pivoted me into asking more profound questions,
Okay.
like afterlife, what happens after death, what happens to the body. We know biologically, we know the body decomposes, but
Sure.
there is more to the body, right? There is intellect.
So actually, sorry to interrupt, but that was kind of my next question to both of you. That was there some incident, or for example, something as a turning point in your lives that made you kind of be more cognizant about, whether it's a spirituality or faith or rituals, etc. So you were mentioning. Would you like to share, or if it is difficult,
sure.
please don't.
No,
What was the turning point?
I had my elder brother who passed away in
Oh,
a
okay.
car crash.
Sorry to hear that.
So that was the turning point for me, in the sense I was no longer asking. questions that are related to mind matters and all. I started asking profound questions
Okay.
regarding death and all
Okay.
that thing, and that's when I started seeking. I visited, I explored different spiritual disciplines, and figured out, hey, life is not only about this span of
And
60,
how
70
young
years.
were you at that time?
I was around 22,
Okay.
23. Yeah.
Okay. So you were just starting, I think, your
Yeah,
work life at that
yeah,
time.
yeah.
It was
I just started
it was
work
a, it
life,
was a
and that's
real
when,
horrible shock
yeah,
that you went through.
yeah. So that was a turning point.
Okay.
And over then I didn't look back.
Okay.
I found a lot of intangible and intangible benefit in the spiritual practices and the knowledge. More than practices, knowledge helped a lot.
Okay.
In navigating through life.
And did it also give you the solace because you went
Yeah,
through such a
of course,
horrible loss?
Of course. Tremendous solace. I mean,
Tremendous
when you are hit with an unknown, and when you get a glimpse of something which you hitherto you did not know about, then definitely it helps you in getting back
Okay.
to your center. Yeah.
Okay. Vinay, was there also for you any kind of a turning point after which maybe the speed or something, quantum or qualitatively, things changed in this domain of spirituality or
For
rituals?
me, I guess I would say because of my spiritual, inclination and doing some active practices, and also having a deep desire towards learning this dimension, be it your influences of your planetary positions, be it your influences of how sound and vibration affects in terms of
Okay.
what you do in your day-to-day life, be it our speech as what we talk, and how it impacts the other person is purely because of the vibration what it creates.
Right.
So today we have scientific evidences in terms of converting sound into visible state of diagram representation. Right? So we do understand that certain things work and we know why it work. So having this knowledge helped me navigate the turns and curves my life took.
Okay, so the other way around, that the turns that life put on you,
Yeah, I was
that
able to
made
navigate
you
better. Otherwise, I don't know in what deep hole I would have been in with the
Okay.
kind of things life threw at me at very young age, and also continuously further to that.
So what would you like to share? Any particular thing that really hit you, like in terms, Pragnajit's
not-
case was something
I mean,
very
there were
sad.
many instances which I guess everybody in our audience would also will
But
know.
something that really stands out in your own experience.
Few factors it may not be significant for most are finding your own
But
space.
what was significant for you is what I would like you to share.
Standing up on your own when you fall down,
Okay.
when you are not able to express that you are hurt, or you don't know how others will take when you're hurt.
Okay.
And getting over that, you will have a better understanding because of this significant knowledge that you have, or significant impact this knowledge has passed on you. You will be able to course correct. And then of course life has its own thing of taking away people from your life, like how Pragnajit said. Similar incidents happened in my life as well. Very young, at around 20, I lost my mom, and there were incidences where there were long ailing ailments which my father had to go through. So these things were there, but I was able to manage or handle it in a particular way and still conduct myself and not let it collapse further down, like because people do find it like 5-6 years they have lost because of one incident, and they have to regain that time which they have lost. That is something which I felt I have done better off having this know-how, so that no matter what was happening around me, internally I was peaceful. It didn't rupture me much. It made me more resilient with respect to what I was doing.
So let me kind of also for the viewers as well as for myself, out of my own learning requirements, let me ask you independently to also say a few words or sentences on what does the word spirituality mean for you. So, Pragnajit,
Yeah.
what does it mean for you?
Spirituality for me is having this self-awareness, right?
Okay.
You become aware of your mind, you become aware of your body. So when you become aware of your mind, you know how to manage your mind. We talk about stress management. Basically, we should not do stress management. we should manage our mind.
Okay.
Stress will automatically
Automatically
go away.
get
Yeah.
tackled.
So basically, managing the mind and coming to a situation where you have a tranquil mind. That is what spirituality all about. So,
Okay.
in fact, all the religion actually teaches us to get to that level
Okay.
of tranquility, the peace of mind.
Okay.
So, and an inward word is peace of mind.
Okay.
Spirituality gives.
Okay. Vinay, spirituality or rituals? I know that's your favorite also.
Yeah,
As a strength.
both are different
Yeah.
in terms of how it is. But if at all you want to look at it in a little more deeper way, there's not like one style suits all kind of a thing. So what they did was they offered 4 different formats at which one can attain knowledge or know-how. So this is only for the seeker. Spirituality is not something which we can preach or which we go about, advocating. This doesn't happen and work that way. So basically, spirituality is only something which it will work, or the format of spirituality, be it yoga, be it any simplest form of it, will work only when you have left everything else and said, okay, fine, these are all not the things which is actually true. And I want a deeper know-how. That means to say you're getting more subtler and subtler from the gross. Physical application of things are on an overt note, which is.
But let
very
me interrupt you. There is another side to you which I think I can't say I understand fully, but I am aware of, which is to do with the word faith and also rituals. Can you expand a little bit about rituals first and then faith?
Yes. So rituals are the physical act of doing certain things to activate certain energies.
Okay.
Right? So everything goes back to the reverberations. So entire world is a reverberation. It starts from that. So we will not see the entity as God or something supreme being. Let's treat it as energy, which you have access to or you don't have access to.
Okay.
So you eat food, you have certain energy which gets converted into your ATP cells, and you have certain energy at your disposal, be it kinetic, be it physical, right? So similarly, you have something as a format which you can convert from physical to non-physical, right? For which beyond something food what you eat is required for you to do that. So it's called ojas. It's called a dimension which you can have access to apart from your 5 senses.
Okay.
So only way you can go about doing it is with your connection with the factor which you are connected with apart from your physical. Say we call it prana. It's only way the interlink is with your breath. That's the reason you hold your breath. You can't survive further than that, right? So getting more deeper into it, there are certain practices, the formats which are done, the principles which are there, which you follow, called pranayama. That basically, the Patanjali says there are 8 formats to it.
So would you term these things like pranayama, etc., as rituals?
No, pranayam is a meditative practice.
Yeah.
It's a breath control practice. There are 2 ways to it. One is
So I want you to get into this word rituals more.
yeah. So ritual is
Maybe it helps our viewers if you can give an example of a ritual,
Right.
and how do you see that significant and
Okay,
how it
I'll-
adds
so
to your strength.
Before we get into rituals, you have to understand there are 4 types of formats one person takes in terms of getting this deeper subtle understanding.
Okay.
One dimension is to do with your bhakti yoga, which you pray and you offer certain things and go about doing it. The next set of it is Jnana Yoga, where you try to know the factor of how it works, what happens, and it is more to do with your intellect.
Okay. So it's the questions
It's the questions that you try,
and the curiosity that you
yes,
try to
and you get into your subtle state
satisfy.
of living. The third factor is your karma yoga, where you do act like, you burn out your physical energy in so deep intent without karmanyavadikara. You don't look into the end result. You keep doing your work. So that way also you can get into a subtler way of lifestyle from the gross. The fourth aspect is a Kriya Yoga, which is Raja Yoga from Vivekananda's philosophy. If you see. So that is something where you do certain meditative breathing practices.
Okay.
So with the way you control your breath, it's called Kumbhaka, Shunyaka, or there are different ways of it.
I mean, again,
answer yours.
As a complete layman on this topic, and yes, I may carry that label agnostic because of that. I'm fine, but I'm a layman essentially. I see, or people see during different kinds of, parts of life or events in life, there are a lot of rituals being performed.
Right.
That's different from the four parts of the different yogas.
It's coming under one part of it. It's more to do with the bhakti yoga, where you go about doing it. And it also, there is a part of tantra which comes into it. So tantra, yantra, mantra, these are the three things which are interlinked in a particular way to get that energy renounced. So when you are doing a certain higher call is what we call it. So basically, if at all you want to keep it aside from religion or any religion per se, and just treat it as energy, there are two types or styles of energy. One is a very subtler energy. I can give an example as a seed. Seed has a potential to become a tree, but it is still a seed and it cannot manifest on its own, right? And there is that energy, right? So the energy form is called the feminine form, which is to do with the Prakriti. Prakriti is the entire life around you. So one energy was called as the feminine form of it. Another energy is called as the masculine form of it. So there are different aspects of this energy they started studying. And they started understanding these energies and how it works and how it plays. And they realized that these energies get influenced by certain things. We are all a culmination of influences. Like for that matter, if at all there's a full moon coming in,
that I can relate to.
Right. So entire life on earth also is with respect to the influence of moon onto the woman and the cycles of woman, related with moon. Moon cycle of 28 days, and that goes hand in hand. And there's a significant impact on that. So theirs is a shorter cycle, and men is a longer cycle. So we are a little more grosser. We don't get perked up so easily, or we cannot get the subtleties of a woman purely because we are driven by the sun's influence more. So this is something which is the reason we are the way we are. Now coming to ritual, I'll link it up. I mean, it's needed. That's the reason I'm going that deep. So now coming to rituals, you have certain formats which are done like you activate a button, like you turn on the fan switch, the fan turns on. So whoever does that, the fan will still work. It doesn't distinguish and differentiate saying that a child did it, I'm not turning on, he has to be 18. So it still works. So similarly, they identified a format saying that you do this act and you culminate it this particular way, this will work. And they made a beautiful system and they capsuled it and they started offering it. This is for this feminine energy to be activated. This is for this masculine energy to be activated. A person has a certain deficit. They say, okay, fine, this deficit is because of this energy being lower. You have to work on these things. Do this yajna, or do this homa, or do this particular ritual. You will be able to overcome that. But just do this gap.
I want to, sorry to stop you over there. And maybe, Pragnajit, can you reflect upon, or what Vinay has been explaining, different things, anything that you latch on to and find it similar or different or significant from your point of view?
He explained it really well. In fact, I will also take you from Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga chapter, where he described what prana is. Pranayama has come from the word prana. Prana is essentially a life force. Life force which is much more subtle than any other energy, scientific energy, linked with gravity or anything. So what he says, the whole world, universe is made up of that life force.
Okay.
Actually, that life force governs everything. Right? Now, gravity might be a manifestation of that life force. Okay? So this life force you can control using pranayama. Okay. And when you do that, prana has an effect on the mind. Okay. So prana actually is not roughly breath, but there is a connection between prana and your breath. So how do you control your prana? You control your prana through breath. Okay. So through this breathing exercise, you affect your mind and you can help in calming the mind. Okay. So this is what pranayama all about.
Okay. So I would like to shift gears a little bit into the application area, because that's what our viewers probably will find it more useful. So my next question is, how does your belief system, the spiritual, the philosophical, or faith-based, whatever it is, influence your approach in leadership or decision making? Maybe you can relate to decisions that you have to take.
So this spiritual knowledge, and over the years, Amit, while I'm practicing this meditation, it helped me in having clarity of thought.
Okay.
So when the mind is de-stressed, when you have a calm mind, there is a clarity of thought. And with clarity of thought, decision making is much easier.
Okay.
Because you have that discriminative power, what is wrong, what is right, and that wisdom to actually go the right way without getting influenced by biases, right? So often we are actually victim of our own biases.
Right.
So when you have a bigger perspective of life, then those biases goes down, and then you have a better decision making ability. So definitely spiritual knowledge, having a broader perspective of life, and meditation helps in having, I mean, taking good decisions in life. And not only in life, in corporate culture, we are constantly making decisions. Okay, this helps in having that
In
kind
your
of
corporate
clarity.
life, both of you are very experienced professionals. Decision making is something also related to the continuous flux of change that keeps on
Correct,
hitting you,
correct.
right? And that obviously disturbs whatever balance of life you have or angle of thinking that you have. And then you have to come to stability, and you're saying that this does help. Vinay, your thoughts on this?
For me, it is more to do with multiple dimensions to it. The first aspect to it is, like you said, it's a chaos and it unsettles you, rattles you too much. So it does happen to everyone. So if at all we try to bring understanding with respect to your knowledge, know-how about whatever knowledge you have about spirituality or scriptures or your all the things that you know, it will still not guard you, because emotion is much more deeper to your intellect. Because you may take any decision, based on your intellect, but when an emotional turmoil comes in, you'll still bend down to that. So that's the reason.
That's very interesting how you put it, yeah.
So we can't counter emotions with your intellect. It is not possible. It can give you some solace at a later stage. Okay, it is because of that, and you can somehow push it under the carpet and move on. But it still lingers inside within you, where you are suffering because of it. And burnout happens much faster before even you realize it. So there is another way where you can go about settling it. So knowledge part of it is just to keep you stay course in terms of what you need to do. Will help you with that. But in terms of your investment, it has to be more than your physical. That's where I said how you can actually understand a person's persona per se is basically how much he's been invested into something. Be it your work, be it your sadhanas, be it your spirituality, be it your meditation. The more you're invested, so talking about it, knowing about it is not doing any good. You being disciplined, persistent, continuously practicing what you are following, that is something which will create a momentum, and that momentum of energy which you gather has a aura of shield around you, where it will not let you get affected with day-to-day energies which will perturb you.
Yeah, I'm trying to still play the role as a mediator between the audience and both of you, a very deep, sense of the topic as well as a practitioner. So let me put a question which hopefully will the viewers will relate more to your responses. That do you find that your sense of purpose, okay, or calling is linked to your belief system?
I wouldn't call it belief system, because it's more to do with belief, like I would always
Yeah, I mean that's the word I'm using. So you can interpret it.
Yes, sense of purpose will have a deeper understanding to it, because your scale of rating is on a longer range. So whatever you encompass within it will still fall into a particular quadrant of it, rather than stretching outside your boundary lines.
Okay.
So you'll have a wider turf to play around with, which you'll have advantage over others. And it's a thing like, if at all you want to say that, I am a person who's following meditation or spirituality in a particular way, or do my yogas and, stick to a particular sadhana, do I have advantage over the other person in terms of competence in the organization? May not be. Competence is gauged with some other scale.
That's why I'm bringing in this aspect about sense of purpose. So let me rephrase this question again for both of you. We have this necessity in organization and leadership in the corporate world, for example, also, that it is necessary that people have a sense of purpose, for which it is like having the answer to why I have to do what I have to do, for example, right? So my question is, people who have this strength of, being grounded in whether it is faith or philosophy or spirituality, is it easier for them to relate to the sense of purpose, which is on a longer scale level? So is it easier?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Its answer in a single word is yes.
Yeah. So you agree with that?
Yeah, if you define sense of purpose as a goal in corporate life, right?
Yes.
What is your
But more a longer term goal rather than a shorter
Yeah.
term. Not the quarterly results or KPIs alone, for example.
Yeah.
It's about why I have to do what I'm doing.
Yes. So if you have that clarity, that hey, and if you have focus in your life, usually people get too much distracted with different things in life. But if you have that focus in life, then definitely you understand the purpose and you work towards it. And in a sense, spiritual practices bring that discipline in you to stay on course.
Okay, okay, yeah, I get that, but still, as a relative layman on this topic, does it give you a longer view about life? Because you're thinking always about life, right? You're not thinking about only what I get in exchange of what I do, which is transactional,
Right.
for example. You have a bigger sense of purpose, which is very obtuse, which is very, vague, right? And I think most people, including myself when I was young, I think younger, I think it was less easier, okay, to relate to a longer term purpose. But having this strength coming from spirituality, faith, philosophy, does it give this? Does it make a person relate to this longer term purpose is easier? Make it easier?
I mean, if
Yeah.
I may, the entire purpose, what you're talking about, talking to myself, you will not be so boggled about the end purpose. It's about your path, what you take in terms of your daily, taking the path. What happens in your day-to-day activities, and how you are able to manage it in utmost happiness and your peace of mind. That is what is something as a purpose, where it will see basically the whole point of spirituality is to make your interiorities defined by you and not somebody else.
Correct.
So nobody else has access to perturb that.
So you're not swayed by the pressures of expectations from
Exactly.
others, for
Exactly.
example.
Exactly.
You are rather being able to decide on your own and draw upon your inner strengths, your inner compass, for example, to make choices, right?
Exactly.
And that's leadership,
That's leadership.
even for me. Okay, for example.
Altruistic choices, basically, so that
I mean,
it benefits.
altruism is still something, I guess, others can sit on judgment on me to say, okay, it's not altruistic actually what you are, but for me it could be. So it's still a judgmental issue.
Yeah.
I mean, going by semantics. But what I'm able to relate to from what both of you are sharing is this, that you are on a different plane when you are practicing spirituality or you have faith in something. You're not perturbed, you're not swayed by all those different pressures, different, waves that come in. And that's part of real life for sure. It can be sadness, it can be anger, it can be all kinds of emotions you spoke about, okay? It can be comparative supremacy, it can be expectations that you are expected to fulfill of others, etc. All these vectors is part of being a human. That's fine. But what you are saying is that when you are grounded because of either your faith or spirituality or philosophy, this gives you that belief. I use the word Vinay belief in a different sense now. That gives you the belief that yes, there is a larger purpose. Like even in a corporate scenario, see the so-called management as a vision, correct? Now, people who work in that organization, they may not have been explained, or they may have been explained, but they may not be able to relate to it always because they are not probably at that level of the helicopter view of the organization and the business, for example, and hence they are forced to relate to the shorter term goals and objectives and KPIs. But if they are able to relate to a larger purpose, which some of the people who get into leadership roles, for example, or senior roles, they have to be, because it's not very clear why they are doing unless they are aligned to the organization's larger purpose. Okay, because vision is always hazy. Vision is not something that you can, easily measure and count. As they say, what you can't measure doesn't count. But on the other hand, what you can count is not much of a measure because it's related to the short term. It's not related to the larger purpose.
Right.
So that's what I'm getting from what you're saying, and I want the viewers also to relate to it. That these things that ground us, okay, different people have different kinds of belief systems, okay. It still helps finally in having a longer term perspective, for example, right? Okay, and that also adds to the stability. Yes, please.
So I'll add to that.
Yeah.
So there is a saying that goes, if you know yourself intimately, you know everyone, anyone.
Right.
In fact, I know Amit,
Yeah.
I know Vinay, if I know myself well.
Right.
Because we are fundamentally same. We are made up of same chemicals, and our thought process are also
Quite
somewhat
similar, yes.
Quite similar, right?
Our needs are similar,
Yeah.
wants are similar,
Wants are similar.
desires and dreams
Yeah,
are also
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
similar.
So that helps. If you know yourself, it helps in being more empathetic to the other person. And it's a great leadership skill.
Yeah, I mean, Vinay and I have done an episode earlier where we talk about vulnerability, right? I mean, let me put this as a question. When you have this groundedness because of, again, these factors, faith, spirituality, philosophy, whatever, does it help in being able to share your vulnerability? Does it help?
I mean, at least it will not affect you. You can openly share your vulnerability because you know that that is not the defining factor for you, and it will not clinch you from doing it.
And it is also something you accept.
You're
Absolutely.
you're going beyond your vulnerability, right? So you are going, again, your vulnerability is related to your emotions, your background, but you are striving to go beyond that, right?
Yeah. No, for example,
Okay, whatever comes my way, I should not be perturbed by that, right? So that is where you are grounded.
so there is something else which makes you hold steadfast
Yeah.
to whatever you are trying to lead your life through, or whichever reason you are trying to relate with, that to lead your life in. Great, fantastic. So, do you sometimes find it hard to express or live your beliefs at work? Again, I'm using the word belief as a common word, okay? So do you find it hard to express it, especially in environments where they weren't shared? Like in the workplace, you don't get the chance always to talk about or share about your different kinds of beliefs or, faith or whatever you relate strongly with. But does it become an impediment because you have these beliefs?
No, Amit,
No.
it won't. Because I'll tell you what, any particular thing that you follow, it's very personal.
Yeah.
And what you do, that's a completely different dimension.
Yeah.
It's interiority of yours, which you are doing. It's just like, you're taking bath. You're not, publicly, you need not go advocate about it. And when it comes to expressing yourself and organization and, your functional role into whatever role you're doing,
Yeah, yeah.
it's an overt factor. That's where your skills will come into application.
Yeah.
The skills which you've gathered over the years in terms of physicality has got nothing to do with this thing. But this is definitely going to be the pillar structure, like a foundation which is not seen, for you to have a kind of a building which you want to build on top
So
of.
there are two aspects that I find important from what you said. One is that your belief system is private. Okay, it is something that you hold inside you. It gives you the strength. Now, what you manifest as the strength is what others see or get impacted by, for example, and hence you don't feel anyway that,
Yes.
as an impediment.
So again, there's a saying: if you are spiritual in the core and secular in the circumference,
Oh.
you are well taken care of.
Wonderful.
So what it means is, see, if you conduct yourself in a way that work is worship. That's why there's an old saying: work is worship. Work. If you take work as a service, then expectations are lower.
Exactly.
For example, every time we work, we try to ask what I'm going to get.
What am I going to get because of this?
And this creates a lot of conflict, lot of stress in the system.
Even eternally for yourself.
Yeah. But if you take work as service, karm karo, phal ki chinta mat karo, and then whatever comes your way, you take it as a prasad, right? So that helps you in being grounded, and that de-stresses your life.
Okay.
So this is a very profound knowledge. Very few guys follow it. Even I find it very difficult to follow it, but there is profoundness in it, and that it helps in actually live a very happy life if
What-
we can follow this.
Let me ask a very human, simple question. At your workplace,
Yeah, yeah.
do you sometimes get angry about somebody,
Of course.
and why?
Of course, I mean, any incident, any event, the boss said something to me, I react to it. Then reaction is fine. Then after that, when I do an introspection, I said I could have behaved a different way.
Okay.
So that sense of introspection is there, and when usually people in work environment they tend to blame others or complain others. But if you have that introspective attitude, then you
Which
will
comes from the practice of
yeah,
spirituality.
practice of spirituality. As I say, if you know yourself, you know the other person. You are empathetic, right? Why that person said something to you, you understand, because had you been in his shoes, you would have behaved the same way. So that empathy comes.
Very, very interesting, Vinay, that Pragnajit used the word empathetic, because we have discussed this in earlier episodes, where empathy is a quintessential aspect of a leader. For example, a good leader, particularly. And what you are saying is that empathy comes out of this, this introspection, for example, comes out of this habit, I may say, you may say choice, whatever, to be introspective, which is the spiritual side of it. You're always looking internally to find the answers and not, finger pointing and blaming others, right? For example. So, but you are two different people. We are three different people, okay, right? How do you handle, Vinay, when you get angry with somebody in your work domain?
Basically, it's not about you getting angry. When you say you getting angry, it has a deeper sense to it. You getting angry is you have messed your interiorities. That means to say
Okay.
you lost control over yourself.
Okay.
Right? So there is also another aspect to it where you get angry to show your anger, which is necessary in certain situations where the other person has to get it right. Say for that matter, there is a child and he is running to cross the road on his own, and you know the consequences, and you shout at him with a concern that he shouldn't get hurt. And it is not to scare him, but making the point loud and clear so he doesn't do it. That is showing anger. That is needed for getting the transaction done. And getting disturbed and you are not able to control, and what you utter at that rage is something
There is
of a
lack of
consequence.
control of yourself.
Yes, absolutely no control, and you'll be sorry and you'll go with a guilt trip further to that. So when you say, do you get angry? I say yes, but do you get angry in such a way where you have lost yourself and you utter certain things which you should feel sorry about at a later stage? I would say comparatively less, because what I used to be before following these and what I am able to manage today, it's definitely helped having followed these.
How did it help?
It helps in terms of, I'll tell you for understanding. You have a deeper scale of understanding of a situation.
Okay.
So when I am talking to Amit now, if at all I am under the impression that, okay, this is the moment I'm in front of the camera and so many people are watching me, and I am trying to frame my words, I'll not be able to frame the same way which I am framing as of now.
Right.
But if at all I have a bigger picture about it, saying that, what is the purpose of me doing this entire podcast?
Right.
Why I am communicating what I'm communicating? Why am I here? So the way you conduct and the way you handle the situation is totally different.
So that's in my words again leadership, I would say, viewers, because that's exactly when you are making a choice yourself and you are finding the answer to the question why, okay, life becomes easier and actually quite straight. Because you're not responding to other triggers from somebody. You're not responding to expectations that are there of you. Oh, you are in front of a camera, you should be like this, you should be like that. You're not trying to fulfill anybody's expectation. And that's what the essence of leadership also is. for example.
Yeah, I'd like to add
Please.
to what Vinay
Please.
has just said.
Yeah.
So that's a very good point. So when you are self-aware,
Yeah.
when you are aware of what's happening in your mind,
Right.
you will hardly get angry.
Mm-hmm.
So try this out. If you are at the moment of anger, if you become aware, oh, I am getting angry, your anger will reduce by 50%.
Okay.
So again, this is where awareness matters. Okay. So if we conduct ourselves with awareness, these kind of situation does not arise. But it's a question of practice, right?
Right.
We as human cannot be aware all the time, right?
Right.
There will be some times when we lose awareness, and anger, violence, and all the ills in the world is due to unawareness of the mind.
But once you said that, it may sound as if I'm simplifying, but at the risk of that, I still think that being aware of yourself should be easier than aware of everything else. Because after all, the closest to me is me,
There's a subtlety,
is I.
subtlety there.
Yeah.
Awareness of what is happening in your mind.
Okay, that's another scale up above for sure.
Yeah. So most of the time, the thoughts that come in, we are not even aware. I mean, there are coming some thoughts, we latch on to it. Sometimes some thoughts just go by. Right now, you are sitting in front of me. You must be having some opinion about me. That's a thought, right? So if you become aware of your thoughts, this is a practice of mindfulness.
Sure.
You will realize that over time, you have more control over your thoughts, and anger is again another thought, right?
On a completely different plane, let me just a little bit get out of the me, I, speaking to myself, being aware of what thoughts I am going through, etc. Do you see a shift in how workplaces today accept or integrate different belief systems? Because in any workplace, for example, there are say hundreds of people working, and each individual, they may be holding it private, Vinay, like you explained, but yet each individual has a belief system. And even if a lot of them could be having similar belief systems, but they would still be varying amongst each other and from another group cohort of people who have a different belief system.
Right.
Okay. And I'm not only talking about religious differences here, I'm talking about belief systems, like even in spirituality and faith, and we're talking about the internal compass. Each individual comes and develops, probably even unknowingly and subconsciously, not even unknowingly, I would say, with an internal compass. It comes from, like you both started and shared at the beginning. It depends on, where you were born and, what kind of ecosystem you were there. Both of you spoke about your grandparents, for example, right? So everybody has had grandparents. Of course, nowadays, in the society we live in, for example, in Bangalore, in typical, gated complexes, most of the families are not living with even parents, forget grandparents. So all that ecosystem is kind of lost. Okay, so it may be a little bit of poverty, if I put it like that. People may not agree or may agree. But having said that, do you see that workplaces are handling this? Because I'm talking about, both of you are very much experienced. So you have worked in organizations, various organizations. Today you are an entrepreneur, but in the past, I know, Vinay, you have worked in large corporations also. So is there a shift in organizations from the management through HR or whatever, through leadership, that these different belief systems should be handled differently? Or there is actually an official way or some kind of a system or some kind of a cultural issue that is brought in so that people can maintain their belief systems?
I guess it's best that the organization stick to the professional side of it in terms of process and systematic strategies. I guess that's the best way, and because it's very murky, and even in our spirituality and rituals that we follow. When I say I'm talking to myself.
People who
I follow. So it is clearly stated that whatever you are today and for which you have taken this life is because of the karmic substance that you have, which you have to undo. So basically, Satchidananda, they say that is the equilibrium state which you have to reach. So you have certain highs, you have certain lows. and you have to equal it out. Only then there is no life further to that. And not getting into the that side of it, why I brought this up is you have certain type of we would have heard people say that that is this karma that you're going through this. What they literally mean is there is certain memory which is attached to it, which is making you play the role what you're playing. It has certain influence. So if at all I can give an example, you have your water bottles, we have our cups. So we have to fulfill that amount of water in this life. That means to say in my gulp, I have to finish that amount of water. I can access to only that amount of water in that cup. This is called as a prarabdha karma, which is your karmic substance which you have access to for this life.
Okay.
There is your filter in which you can take, there is more water into it, which you can refill into multiple births and go about it. It's called sanchita karma, which you don't have access to, but still there is karmic substance for you to take another birth and do it. So it's like you pulling a bow and arrow. You pull the arrow how much you are behind before you take
The
birth.
harder you pull, the further it goes.
Yeah, so before you take birth, you have access to how much you want to burn in this life. The moment you release it, you're taken birth. After you're taken birth, you can't change the trajectory.
So that's great what you explained, and I can see Pragnajit also nodding to it. But I'm still the kind of outside this domain as a practitioner, and maybe I'm trying to represent also those viewers of ours who are a little bit far away from actually having the knowledge that you have already gained, and you use it for your day-to-day practice. So I want it to be related a little bit. So what makes you maintain personal authenticity without making it about persuading others, okay, to your way of life or thinking?
It's a very, very important thing that you brought this question.
Let me just add a kind of addenda to it. See, even with people like me who are maybe agnostic or rationalist, whatever, I have opinions about many things. So do you, I'm sure. I mean, whether we talk about what is happening in Israel or in India, Pakistan or China or wherever, we have opinions, right? We have opinions about people, about political leaders, about corporate leaders. So in an organizational context, everybody has an opinion about that manager or the HR or the CEO or, etc. Now, the moment I have an opinion, it's also human tendency that I find people who agree to my opinion. That's why in Facebook you have a like only, no dislike. Okay, easily you find an echo chamber. Now in an organization, if you find an echo chamber also, it's not so easy to remain in the echo chamber because you have to interact with people who are outside that echo chamber. And actually people probably shirk away from actually creating echo chambers because it's threatening a little bit, yeah. So point is the belief systems, your way of life, you practice spirituality or you find your strength from wherever, philosophy or even faith. How do you remain authentic to your belief, to your faith or your spiritual self, and control yourself or don't control yourself to persuade others also to join your kind of thinking? Do you have that need? Do you have that, or do you practice to bring people into your way of thinking?
Should I go first?
Please.
Actually, you don't need to.
Okay.
As I said, your spirituality is in your core.
Okay.
Like you're secular outside.
Right.
Okay. The way you conduct yourself, if someone finds something appealing in you, he would be drawn towards you.
Okay.
Right? In corporate world, you cannot try to persuade anyone to do something.
Right.
Which you believe in, at least in this realm. So I don't think there is a need to do that.
Okay. I mean, that is profound, at least to me, when you said you don't need to.
Yeah.
That's putting it so simply, but I find it such a heavyweight statement. What do you say, Vinay?
I guess partially I have answered that. It's not something which you have an opinion towards, or it's not a belief either.
Okay.
It is something which is so deeply engraved within you. It is already there within
It's you.
It's you in a way. And end of the day, it's up to people to do what they have to do about looking at you and going about it. And also, I made it clear that it's your personal thing, and it's not something, and it's to do with your interiorities, and not to explicitly put it out. Coming to the exact question here, where
How do you practice your authenticity?
Will you keep the authenticity? That is a very tricky part,
Yes.
because in the while you're practicing, it's sometimes where you get excited and you feel it's somewhere I have to share it. It does come. It's
Exactly,
not that,
exactly.
genuinely, if you ask
Yeah,
myself,
yeah,
it does come.
it does.
But if you look at the bigger picture, it is not going to do good to anybody, because everybody has their own path of figuring it out. Because it's about how subtle you're leading your life and how subtle the other person is able to lead their
Yeah,
life.
both of you, that I hung up my boots now, more than 8 years back. But what came to my mind is I used to take not only my management team sometimes, or even younger but budding leaders whom I could see that they have great potentials, sometimes to a bar, sometimes to a restaurant, or even a dhaba on the highway, for example. And while we're sitting in this dhaba or a bar, not a bar typically, but where you can talk, not this place where you can't talk at all. But I would never I'd never gone there. Then you have conversations happening which open up these kind of topics. And I'm not saying topics which is related to spirituality or faith or something, but it is about, somebody is sad, somebody is angry, somebody is very happy, and then they would like to do it with others. And that is where somewhere I could see this play of each person's faith, beliefs, whether spiritual or not. All these things used to come actually. And then there would be, say, a group of people who, like you guys, are satisfied not to at all wanting to influence others. And there will be few who would be virulently wanting to, influence others.
Half cup make a lot of noise, Amit.
Okay, but would you say, my question is, that people who have this need to, push their whatever belief system they have, about whatever, who have this need, would you say that it will help them for their lives if they practice a little bit more spirituality, and they find faith in something, whether it's philosophy or spirituality or whatever? Or is it the lack of it that makes them do it?
Yes, certainly it would help. But the problem is, the whole problem in this world is because of this fanaticism, right? So when you try to impose your belief system onto someone else, it leads to all the conflicts in the world.
Yes.
So there is a saying, right? You can bring the horse to the pond, but you cannot make it drink water until it is thirsty.
It's thirsty, yes. That's
So
true.
it's the same.
Yeah, other day I tried to put a little plate with water in our front garden because I could see the little birds coming and, trying to bathe in the rainwater on the leaves, but it never went to that plate of water. But they don't know it's water, probably. That's great. I mean, so I probably try to dig a little bit deeper, or rather ask you to dig if it's possible. What is one way your means not you guys, but anybody, your belief system has made you a better leader or professional? Or you can reflect on your own experiences. Now, although it is private, as you both of you said, okay, you don't have the need to influence others, etc. But how has that helped you to become a better professional as a leader, as an executive? How is it?
Yes, it does help in a much bigger way than you can imagine. It has multiple factors to it. One is with respect to the bhakti format of whatever you chant or whatever mantras you go about reciting. Be it a simple om, or be it a simple whatever syllable you want to go about, or you have your formats. So that will actually soothe things down, because repetitive vibration in a particular way soothes things down. Basically, it dulls things down rather. So your rush of your brain.
It brings you to a more
state.
Collected, stable.
Yeah, it gets you into a reflective state.
Okay, reflective state.
So when you're in a reflective state, you're not on a reactive state.
Right.
And not being on a reactive state itself is the biggest blessing, being in the space you are in corporates. And having done that, now comes the next aspect of it in terms of your sadhana. If at all you're able to practice some form of meditation or pranayam, this again changes your entire body chemistry level. So your heartbeat will not exceed a particular level. If at all, there's a saying, if at all you are able to hold your thought, not create a thought, neither you dwell on a thought nor kill a thought. You're able to get into that level. It's called turiya, where you're having awareness about your unconscious state or conscious state and subconscious state, and you're able to be in all three phases at the same time for mere 32 seconds or 12 seconds for that matter. You are in one pratyahara state, basically one form of state, and you're able to do it for like 2.5 minutes. It's 12 into 12 into 12. If you're able to do that, then you are in a samadhi state. Samadhi state, as in you are able to leave your body and watch yourself from outside. You are able to achieve that. There are multiple formats, just telling you the surface part, but it is doable. Now, having practiced one form of pranayama, this change your body chemistry. So your heartbeat is almost at a very stable level, which will not exceed, if at all you're having this digital watches these days, you can map and track it. If your VO2 levels are very good, 40 plus, you are a marathon runner. If you are at 30, 25, 18, so there are different levels at which they calculate based on the age. There's a complete metrics to it. Now, when you are able to practice a good amount of pranayama, your performance levels increase because your body dynamics in terms of your chemistry is working at a peak level. So that is at another level at which you will be at your best. Third aspect is in terms of your digestion power, in terms of the way the food gets absorbed and not get discharged out. The absorption level increases significantly. You're conscious of what you're eating. And whatever you're conscious of doing, basically when you're aware every minute in terms of what you're uttering, or how somebody will feel, being empathetical on an emotional level, on a food when you're eating, on a level of absorption, everything is working in your favor. When things work in your favor, even before you utter a word, when you're in a room, your presence is already felt. And everybody will be willing to listen to you.
That's what they call the aura.
Yes, the aura or the influence. So the person has a persona on its own when it comes to. But again, the tricky part is when you are...
And I have to stop you. Sorry, Vinay. I know this is a very, very deep topic and narration. I would say trajectory of thinking for both you and Pragnajit. But I want to again come back and maybe hear your opinion on does it being grounded in spirituality, faith, or any kind of philosophy that you adhere to or you believe in, has it helped you in leadership in your work area?
Yeah, it has increased my forbearance and patience.
Okay.
So when the going gets tough, when you have a broader picture of life, this is temporary, right? This shall always also pass. So that kind of forbearance is there, and patience to deal with different team members, your boss, your colleagues, and that patience has helped me in good stead.
One short question, fast short answers from both of you. Does this groundedness help in being a visionary?
Yeah.
10 seconds.
Yes, it does.
Why?
Clarity.
Okay.
And all-encompassing nature and thought that you will have.
Okay.
You will equate more things into it so that you will be able to arrive at a longer vision than others.
Okay. Pragnajit.
Yeah, I mean, I would correlate having a vision with creativity, right? Creative thinking. So clarity of mind, as I said, leads to creative thinking, and creativity is actually can lead to a vision, right? Broader vision.
And one more factor, if I may add.
See, the point is that a lot of people who are seen as visionaries, they are very good in articulation. They can, hold at thrall a large group of people by the way they speak, their body language, how they paint the picture of the future, etc., and all that, right? But they are also sometimes, not all of them, but some of them could be driven by what they can get it for themselves. Okay, right? And that is why they are able to articulate. How does a spiritually inclined leader, okay, or grounded in spirituality or faith or philosophy, articulate the vision as opposed to somebody who is charismatic and driven by the narcissistic needs, etc., and all that, which we find more often than not in organizational life. So how would that articulation come?
See, one is all-encompassing nature.
Okay.
where you will make the vision flow through your entire organization, where everybody will start feeling that it is required for each one of them to live towards it.
Okay.
Not just making sure that your vision they have to work towards achieving for your needs. It is more of a reason that when we do this, it's a entire organization which is growing to a next level, and you get to grow
So
to this
how
level.
does that leader, spiritually inclined leader, articulate it? How does he practice it?
Okay, let's say this. There are around 8 people working for me in my organization, and you are having one is empathy in terms of understanding them, and second thing is also go about having a proactive approach in terms of communicating what otherwise will get into a reactive mode. So you communicate saying that there are chances of this happening. So what is that you have taken in terms of precaution, in terms of averting it, and still if it gets into the wrong side, then she or he will still be able to reflect and say, okay, this is something which was brought in and I had told I'll do this. So there's something to reflect upon, and you are able to make that person grow from the phase they were in to the next phase which they're supposed to see on their own next time. So subtle, simple steps which you can take. This is not something the other person cannot do. This is just that you have the inclination about making others grow along with you.
So it is what you are saying is that it is not about just the words or the physical behavior,
To live it.
but it is the aura of the person. It is the how that person is seen, felt, smelt, okay, and
about how they
how that
experience you.
person's aura and personality touches others' lives. So this is what you are getting into.
Yes,
right?
one is,
So let me get Pragnajit's take on what's your experience. How does spiritually inclined leader articulate?
Amit, when you are very introspective, so when you have that introspection about the purpose of your life or the goal of your corporation, then you have that conviction, right? You are very much convinced with the purpose that you have thought about. Right? So when you have that conviction, it shows in your aura, right? And when you articulate that conviction, when you talk something with conviction, when you know the truth, right? When you have experienced the truth, it becomes very easy.
In your mind. Experience the truth in your mind. Because this is
Truth in
about the
your mind.
future.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Then it becomes very easy to convince others because you don't have to do much. It's your aura, your confidence in that truth. I mean, reflects it in your.
I'm convinced with both of your response. I am. I leave it to the viewers to find their own convictions, but yet one step ahead on that, which is that are spiritually inclined and grounded leaders also good in offering argumentations on a rational basis which will make sense to the rationalists like me on the other side, the followership?
Yes, I mean, if you've read Raja Yoga, everything is very scientific. Vivekananda talked about quantum physics and then led to how prana helps in, as Vinay was talking about, 7 different chakras.
So the point is that there is an aspect of not just being spiritually inclined, but also the requirement of having a very deep knowledge. And your conviction has to come from that knowledge. It can't come that I do meditation or I go to these ashrams and things like that. It has to come from real
A
knowledge.
true spiritualist is a rational being. He does not go by blind faith. So most of the populations are following rituals and all the paraphernalia that comes with religion in blind faith. But a rationalist asks questions. And when you start asking questions, you are being introspective and you come to a point where you have that conviction that yes, this is correct. And
Because you
this
ask
is
questions and you find the answers yourself.
yeah, he's
Right.
a very rational person. He's a very scientific person.
Yeah. Actually, that is what I hear Vinay talking, but he doesn't, he has never used the word rationalist for himself, but I see him as a rationalist for sure. Okay. But let me come back to Vinay. You were talking about, and I think I interrupted you about I wanted you to first paint, how does, which I asked Pragnajit also, how does a spiritually inclined leader articulate the vision? But you were getting into what gives that leader the strength to do that. Can you please share
Yeah,
that?
so as a person who practices certain sadhanas, there is a scope for him to activate certain energy centers within the body. There are multiple. There are like more than lakhs and lakhs of chakras in your body. The major ones which play a major role are, classified into 7 chakras. In that 7, there are 6 which are within the body which you can work towards. And basically, whatever we do outwards, the energy flow is from up to down. And whenever it's up to down, there is hardly any manifestation which is taking place within you. So the whole point of pranayama or certain spiritual practices, what you do is to hold that energy which is just flowing out from your Muladhara chakra.
Okay.
So, and make it channel upwards, and it will help you in terms of holding up in upper chakras of yours. So there are 7 chakras within your spine, which is having a capacity to hold it, right? So each chakra, how did they find out that it is there? It's not to believe, it's something which you have to experience. There are certain spiritual practices where you actually can divert your prana to your different parts of your organs, and you can feel it, prana moving there. These are all something which is practice-wise, you experience it and then believe it, rather than you going about having a belief system. So now with these chakras, just to give you one simple example, we all celebrate Ganpati festival and stuff. So the entire symbolism of Ganpati, rather than just seeing him as a god, he is a chakra of Manipuraka. Like, if at all you have something to do with, and Manipuraka chakra is very important for you to run your day-to-day activities. Without that chakra, being congested and not functioning properly, then you can't do your basic simple acts. Like roti kapda makan will be very difficult for the person. So whenever you say, and whenever you see rather a person who is leading a life in a particular way, just by looking at how his lifestyle is and what is happening around him, you'll get to know that what kind of a chakra is having a deficit. And by just reactivating the chakra, so you have your pranic healings, you have your Reiki, you have your meditations, all of this are coming back to the ground level, which is to work upon those chakras. Now, it's a different deep question.
Is this also related to this, the difference between the tamasic and the sattvic?
Everything. Your sattva guna, rajo guna, tamas guna, all of this, even your planetary movements, your astronomy, all of this are interrelated, and how they play an influence upon it.
Wow.
So because of the influence, you are having a tamasic nature, where you are lethargic, where you feel need for sleeping more than others, and you are rajasic, where you want to express, and you have that. There is another nature to it, where it is 3 types of personalities, that you have a Rakshasa pravritti, you have a Deva pravritti, you have a Manusha pravritti. So there are different types to it. So it is very tightly knitted scientific fact, and different kind of influence. Like for that matter, Amit will look like this when he is in his bathing suit. He looks like this when he is in a meeting room. So it's a different style to it. It's all the same personality, but it has got so much of interknitting to it.
I think, Vinay, Pragnajit, we need to come to a closure for this episode, otherwise it will never close down. So my last question is where I would say that I want you to really get grounded now, not in spirituality alone or faith, but in day-to-day life scenario. And my last question is, what do you think is the role of family in finding this groundedness in spirituality or faith or philosophy? What do you think is the role of family?
That's a very deep question. I mean,
Maybe Pragnajit starts on this one.
I mean, family is, when you broaden your vision, your family is just not your family. You have others also part of your family. You see everybody as one, right?
Yeah, but that's why I said as a caveat in the beginning before the question that I really want you to now come on the ground, and we all have families, and we all have the same definition for it. Yes, we can choose to say, what is that, Vishwa Kutumbakam or something like that, fine. But in reality, what we live every day, we go out of a home, we come back to a home, we leave our family behind, whether we are the female or the male, the wife or the husband or the brother or the sister or the son or the daughter or the father or the mother, right? The universality is that there is a man, there is a woman playing different kinds of roles, right? Mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister, husband, wife, right? And they all live whichever roles. Nowadays, normally only two of them live, or three of them, right? One generation. They have a home. And I'm not getting into the size of the home or the beautiful part of it or not, how many Ganeshas there at the main doorstep or not. I'm simply getting into the point that what is the role this family that you go out from and you return to, okay, at the beginning of your work shift and end of your work shift, because nowadays there are various time zones. Earlier we used to say morning you go out and evening you come back, right? So what is the role of this family that you go out from and come back to make you feel more grounded, or rather invest or be invested, remain invested in, spirituality, faith, or philosophy?
So your equation with your family does not change.
Okay.
Whether you are spiritual or not.
So my question is, what role the family plays?
Yeah. I mean, family definitely. I mean, it keeps you grounded, right? I mean, in the sense, at the end of the day, you have different roles to play.
Sure.
Outside, you are playing a role of a manager, role of a developer, or whatever. And here in family, you are playing a role of.
You are a son, you are a husband,
Yeah.
you are a brother, sister,
but
wife, whatever.
There is a sense of dispassion that it is at the end of the day, it's a role in life.
Okay.
You being a husband is a role.
Right.
Okay? And your family makes you constantly realize that, okay, this role has to be played, but you play it dispassionately rather than getting too much involved into something which makes your mind murky. Right? It stresses your life, right? So, yeah, of course. So this, having a family, having your friend should make you realize that, okay, friends come and go. Of course, family are there with you forever. But then there might be quirks in the family, right? How do you deal with it?
Yeah.
Can you deal with that with dispassion or not? That this helps you in bringing that
Okay.
aspect of
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Vinay.
Yeah, it's a little deeper question, but if at all you want to know from the perspective of the spiritual person who has to follow certain sadhanas, I'll come to you. Allow me
No,
time. I'll talk to myself. So first is
So my question is, let me interrupt and then I will just leave it to you to choose how you want to respond, because you will be and you should be natural. But yet my question is, what role the family plays in an individual being able to be grounded in spirituality, faith, or philosophy?
Yes.
Now, you have all the right and
it plays a
freedom.
vital role because it's hardly anything that you can accomplish on your own individually. This is talking to myself.
Yeah.
It's very, very important that it adds on purpose to your life, that whatever you're doing is of some value and meaning. Because for me, emotions at which you carry and you continued having that relationship with a person, be it your wife, your son, and you continue your life for a very long stretch of your life you spend with them. So that is very, very critical. And from the spiritual context part of it, is it something which will counter your sadhanas? Will it hamper it? That's where the depth comes in. But I got my answers way too early in my life, because as a sadhana person, if you're told you're seeking spirituality, you're seeking subtleness, brahmacharya is the best thing, right? But it's not for everyone. You have to understand that when I say it's not for everyone, it's if I have to fly an airplane today, there are certain skills I have to upgrade myself into.
Sure.
Similarly, if at all you have to get into a certain level of your sadhana, there is certain things as a substance of karma that you have to burn towards, and you have to understand certain dynamics. In our conversation, you were telling that he is not a father, so he doesn't understand. I am a father to two children, so I have that experience, is what you were quoting. Similarly, without certain first-hand experiential knowledge, you will not be able to get any subtler than what you're already thinking. So that way, this is needed for which it has happened in your life as a construct. So having said that, it is very important. And second most important aspect in terms of your sadhana, they are the ones whom you can share without any filter. They are your first level of consciousness. Like you tell them, they don't fear you. They don't, you don't have to put a showcasing nature in front of them. You are yourself, and they can bluntly tell it on your face, you're being stupid, and you will accept it as well. So that's your first level of consciousness, and that is very important in everybody's life, that they live that grounded and they're true to themselves, at least with their partners.
Because you know why this question is for me, as somebody hosting the conversation, I hope I have not interrupted or interfered too much in your thoughts, but yet sometimes, yes, I have to. Why it is important is this, that both of you spoke about that it is about your inner self. It's about, you don't, like it's not about others, it's about me, right? And this whole conversation till this last question was about the workplace, about the outside world. But the moment, we think about the family, it's not a sharp cut. Yeah. I mean, I completely respect what you use the word being dispassionate. And you use the word that, you use the expression that, of course, for sadhana to come to that level, brahmacharya is probably the best stage. So it means that the family can be kind of a, if I may say, kind of a little bit of a hindrance because of the emotions, which you cannot simply just slice away and say, I can't be dispassionate about it. But you are saying we should be. So I understand. And I think I would rather leave it over here, because this is such a deep, such a wide topic. And I don't even have, the 10% of practice or knowledge that you both have. So before I thank both of you, I hope the viewers found something to take away, because today's conversation wasn't about choosing one path over another. I penned these lines down, viewers, because I wanted to have these things, to communicate as slickly as possible. It was a reminder that we all carry something within, okay? A compass, a kind of a rhythm. You mentioned this rhythm part of, for example, a belief, some would say, that shapes the way we navigate life and leadership. Whether that compass, points to faith, practice, questioning, or curiosity, both of you, I think, use all these words, for example. What matters is that it helps us move forward with clarity and compassion. So, thank you, both of you, Vinay, Pragnajit, for joining me. I think it's a tough topic for me, but it was a great learning for me also. Thank you very much. And both of you, maybe some closing thoughts for the viewers. Pragnajit, you go first.
Well, yeah, spirituality over the years, I've realized it is all about having that awareness, living life with awareness that can lead to a happy and peaceful life.
Thank you. Vinay?
For me, it's always been a spot where it's about discipline and able to do what you're doing. So one thing which I can say to the audience is it's not about how many years or consistently you've been doing it. Just think that today I will do. Don't worry about tomorrow whether you will be able to do or not. The moment you start saying, I couldn't do it for the past 5 days, the sadhana just stops. Just do it for today. I guess with that, I'll close my talk.
Thank you again, both of you. And viewers, thank you very much for your patience to listen through, I think, a very, very deep topic. As I said in the beginning, I mean, I found myself a label as agnostic or a rationalist. And I probably chose not to delve deeper, probably because it is too difficult. I read probably the 4 volumes of Swami Vivekananda, but after that, when it started with Raja Yoga, I said, no, this is probably for a later day in my life. But today, thanks to these 2 gentlemen, I learned a lot. I hope all of you learned also something new, or they raised some questions in your mind. If you have those questions for Vinay or Pragnajit, please put it down in the comments on this episode. And please also let us know that if you differ somewhere, because that will be knowledge, I think, for all of us also. And thank you again. Keep subscribing to my channel, The Missing Link with Amit, and see you again with another special topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.